Welcome to Trailblazing Bosses. I'm Veranda Atkins, and this podcast is all about real stories and practical tips for travel agents looking to level up. Whether you're part-time aiming to go full-time or you've been at it for a couple of years and just feel stuck, we've got you covered. Each episode dives into strategies, challenges, and advice to help you grow your businesses and achieve success. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it is Veranda Atkins here again with another episode of Trailblazing Bosses. Today my guest is Antoine Wilson with Melanated Safaris. So Antoine, thank you so much for coming on today.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here.
Good. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
All right. Again, my name is Antoine Wilson. Originally from the beautiful state of North Carolina, but I've been in Miami for about the last 20 years. HBCU grad of North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride, had to put that out there. So what I do, I am one of the youngest safari company owners in the beautiful continent of Africa, the country of Tanzania. But my career started, I did air traffic control for 16 years. I just left that in August, and now I'm in full-time entrepreneurship. Loving it, and yeah, that's just a brief explanation of who I am. Yeah.
So I have to tell you, and I don't think I told you this before, but I've been recording a podcast for a while, but you are the first man I've ever had on my podcast, believe it or not. And it was just because I knew your story and how amazing it was, and I love what you're doing with Melanated Safaris, and I was like, okay, I got to break the rules just like this one time. No, but I was like, this one time I got to break the rules so that I can have his story on and talk about it. So we met probably, I guess it's been like almost 3 years ago now. It doesn't even seem like that long, but I think it has been. And I don't even remember how we got on the phone, like how you found me or anything like that. But you just called me one day and it was like we instantly clicked with everything. I thought it was just cool. So just to follow your journey from travel agent to safari owner now, I remember when it all started. Was being in the travel industry something you kind of were already, I guess, air traffic control, but being in the industry on this side of it, was it something that you had thought about doing, or it just kind of fell in your lap?
Kind of fell in my lap. So with air traffic control, highly stressful. It's the reason why I left. But I knew you can't work. You're capped at 55, so you can't work past 55. So I knew I was going to be retiring early. At 55. So I was trying to think of what am I going to do after retiring. And a passion of mine has always been a passion of mine, other than like aviation, traveling. So I would travel a lot, and a lot of my friends would ask me different tips, and family members as well, about, hey, I see you went to this place or that place, and just keep asking for suggestions. And then some of them would even, can you plan this out for me? So my mom was like, why don't you turn that into a business? So that's how I eventually started AD Elite Travels. I turned my passion into a business. So I started there. So that's how I got into the travel agency industry. Not knowing anything right before COVID. I started 2018, the end of 2018, and then COVID came. And then, I think I was just one day Googling because I had no guidance. So starting off in the travel agent industry, not knowing much other than I like to travel. I started with 2 host agencies, didn't like the host agencies. So I was just Googling one day, and then I found Veranda. So I found you guys, ABTP. So I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to her. So I think I remember filling out a form or something, and that's how we connected. And the rest is 7 years later in the travel agency industry. And then I started the safari company again right after COVID. So COVID kind of allowed many people to open your mind, think about different things, and really question and figure out what you want to do in your life. So my business partner hit me up about starting a safari company. Initially, I was super apprehensive about it, but as you can see, 2.5 years later. Actually, we'll be three on January the 18th of 25. We'll be 3 years old. So 3 years into the safari industry.
Crazy. And just you kind of said that your business partner hit you up. I'm gonna throw it out there. Like I know the story, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna kind of embellish it and put it out there a little bit. Like literally, your business partner was someone that you did not know, and
Yes.
he just found you on social media and was like, "Please come to Tanzania and start this company with me," and you went. Pretty
Well,
much, right? I know there's some other stuff in there in between, but that's like the gist
yeah,
of it, right?
kinda, yeah. I was very apprehensive. I was like, yeah, no. So he hit me up on Instagram on my travel agency page about starting a safari company together, asking have I ever been to Africa. And I was like, yeah, I've been to like most Americans when they start off or they first go to the continent, they start off in South Africa. So I had been to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and I was like, yeah, I've been there before. And then he's like, oh, what about Tanzania? And I'm like, no. And then he just started showing me different things and places in his country, like the Great Migration, which initially I didn't know anything about the Great Migration. I feel like most Americans, same thing. Like they watch the movie Lion King all day long with their kids and everything. And many people don't know that that movie is about the country of Tanzania. It takes place in Serengeti National Park. So again, I was very apprehensive. I was like, yeah, you could be like a scammer. But the thing that led me to pretty much give in. And she says he was very consistent about showing me different things about his country, what's possible there from a tourism standpoint. And then once I feel like he kind of conceded that, yeah, I'm just not coming. So then he was just like, well, just send me like some of your clients. Like, just give me a chance to like prove myself with your clients. So I had two clients that waited to the last minute for a honeymoon, and their honeymoon was end of September, and they wanted to go to Greece. And I'm like, what are you trying to do in Greece? So I'm like, it's gonna be cold. You're not really gonna get in the water. So I'm like, what do you guys want to do? And they're like, oh, we just want to enjoy the beach and just have a good time. So I was like, what about beach and safari? What about Tanzania? And it was like, Tanza what? So literally had to show them on the map where it was and show them pictures of everything that was possible there. And of course, they immediately got excited once they saw the beautiful pictures of Zanzibar and the thought of a safari. So it was a good friend of mine, good client of mine. So we kind of had that relationship already. So I let him know, like, hey, this is a potential new business partner. I've never met the guy before. And I also let my now business partner know, like, yeah, like I'm trusting you with some of my clients. Like, if you mess this up, you're never going to hear from me ever again. But at the same time, I'm super nervous because everything you do with Africa, you just keep getting these scam alerts and make sure you're not being
Sure,
scammed.
for
So
sure.
I told my clients, I'm like, look, I will take care of all the hotel portions. So even if you do get there and nobody's there to greet you and it turns out to be a scam, you have somewhere to stay. And then I'll take care of
Absolutely.
everything else from there. But I did call, I think I allowed him to book one of the hotels. And then I later went behind him and called the hotel directly to make sure that there was a reservation there. So it was Park Hyatt Zanzibar. So once I called Hyatt and they said, yeah, there's a reservation here. He actually came here earlier to make sure everything was good. So that made me feel a bit better. I was like, okay, there's a reservation there. But it was a trip of a lifetime for them. They said it's the best vacation they ever had. So later, I flew over and spent like 15 days, and him and I went around the entire country. Well, not the entire country. The country is massive. It's the largest country in East Africa, but we went around the majority of the country, showing me what was possible and to see it in person and to actually experience everything that was now that we've curated and put into a lot of our packages. So it was life changing, still is life changing. I love what we're doing. So yeah, that's the story of how Melanated Safaris came about.
So it's funny. It's a couple things in there that you said. One, you called to verify. I think that's so important. Like with our travel agent world because of course our reputation is on the line, and people who really care about this and this is our passion, like that's my fear. It's, when I have clients that are leaving, until they say like we're at the hotel and we're checked in, when it's something like that, it's like, whew, okay, I can go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like their whole flight, even I'm like, okay, I can rest for about 10-12 hours because they're in the air, but then once they're in the air, stuff like that, calling to verify, I felt that. And then too, the fact that you went over and took 15 days to experience everything that your clients are going to experience. Like, I think that is so important because I'm one of those travel agents that I won't sell something that I haven't experienced myself, because I feel like people come to a travel agent. Anybody can go online and look at pictures and decide what's in their budget, right? But
Yeah.
when you come to us or you come to a company like Melanated Safaris, I expect, I think clients too expect us to be like the expert. Like I have people ask me, what stores are around, what, just like all that stuff. So if you haven't been, to be able
Mhm.
to tell them like, hey, you're going to be 5 minutes away from like this amazing restaurant, or you're going to experience, see, like, look, this is a bumpy road that you're going to be on. The van doesn't have air conditioning, like all this stuff. I feel like you prepare people for stuff. And that
Mhm.
kind of, even if it's something that's not the pleasant part, because like I've never been to Tanzania. That is definitely on my bucket list, that. But like I think about going to South Africa on safari, and it's like bumpy and it can be cold. So, but it's amazing, right? Because you're gonna see all these animals. But if you can prepare people for it's gonna be bumpy and it's gonna be cold, they're like, okay, Veranda told me that, so let me just enjoy the animals because I'm cozy in the clothes that I did. So the fact that you have experienced all of the excursions that you sell, it makes it easier for me as a travel agent to sell your product, because I'm like, okay, Antoine, look, okay, I don't like being cold. How long we gonna be out there? Can I bring my blanket? Can I bring my
Yeah.
thermos with some cocoa? Just all that kind of stuff is what makes it amazing. So I really like that you did that. Your branding, I think, is phenomenal. We talked about that when you were doing. I was like, who did you hire? So I know the answer. So let's tell the people, who did you hire to do all your branding?
Yeah, I hired this guy named myself. It was
Exactly.
me and my friend Canva. So that's like we talked about earlier too. That's my New Year's resolution in entrepreneurship, is try to take yourself out of so many roles. But as a new company growing, in the beginning you do everything. So yeah, I created our branding. And you touched on something that's like really important with our company. Every single thing that we offer, my business partner and I have done ourselves. So there's not one single element of any package that we haven't done. Even down to June, I flew over there and I spent, I think it was another 2.5 weeks. And it was just one of our drivers, my business partner, and one of our photographers. We drove over 3,000 miles around the country, from Arusha to Dar es Salaam, up to Bagamoyo, to the center, to Dodoma, because we had new packages that we that we have unveiled. But again, we wanted to experience everything ourselves just to make sure, because I'm very picky, that it met my standards. So that's what we did back in June. So yeah, to make everyone feel comfortable, even down to like our excursions. Like we offer skydiving in Zanzibar. We've actually done that as well. And my business partner was, oh my gosh, he was so scared. But he was nervous. But that's like the passion that we have behind our company. So there's not any element of anything that we offer in our company that we haven't done ourselves. And then the second thing that you mentioned in reference to travel advisors, um, yeah, a lot of us, we haven't been, because like I said, I'm wearing both hats here. A lot of us, we haven't been to every single destination around the world. So I feel another element that a lot of travel advisors really don't like to utilize, or they still feel like I need to do it myself, is to actually trust local DMCs, because our company, Melanated Safaris, we're a full DMC for the country of Tanzania. But there are advisors out there that will reach out to us and try to pick our brain about different things in the country, trying to create the will themselves, when we've already like this is like home for my business partner. Like we've already done all the things, but it's like I don't know if there's like a trust issue when it comes to a new destination or something, or if it just makes advisors feel more comfortable saying that I put all this together myself. But one thing to really take in consideration when it comes to the continent of Africa, when it comes to countries like Tanzania, like you can try to put those things together, but unless you've been there, like you could really be really messing up an itinerary
Exactly.
because Google Maps will tell you, oh yeah, you can get from point A to point B in approximately 2 hours when it actually takes 6 hours because there's no highways there, or like you said, it's all rock roads, and there's so many elements. Like Tanzania is massive, so like utilize your local DMCs. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Like companies like ourselves, we're here to work with travel advisors. We're not here to try to get over on you, but we just want to because we take our brand very seriously and we want to protect the travel advisors brand as well. But again, a lot of people they like to try to recreate the wheel, and I just feel like countries like Tanzania or massive African countries, you're gonna make a big mistake. So
I've even
definitely,
tried to do that myself. And that's I think that's where we have to like know our limitations as like stay in our lane to do what we do so that we
yeah,
can let other people do what they do.
yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the company, and I want people. You mentioned not trusting, and I think
Hmm.
it comes down to people like you mentioned also the get over because everybody's always worried about that part. Like I don't know these people. What's this price? And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, oh, let me see what I can recreate it because he's charging this price, but let me see if I can get it cheaper myself. And it's
Hmm.
always like, I feel like in that scenario, like, hey, the cost is the cost of what it is to go somewhere now. And if I look at like usually if I'm putting a package together to somewhere I may not go, I may look at the hotel costs to see what they are, but you can't really put a value on like the tours and the knowledge because like you said, you jumped out that plane already. I haven't, and I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, like that we as travel agency owners have to realize when we're doing DMCs, like make sure if anything, do your research on that DMC first and
Hmm.
don't spend as much time trying to recreate what they already told you. Make sure you're
Yeah.
dealing with a company that's reputable and with a company that has done the research like you have.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of flip. We've talked a lot about like the safaris. I want to talk about like just your business practices and just like how you deal with stuff because you've made this leap from being an employee in the air traffic control industry to now like full-time entrepreneurship. And I know people like to glamorize that, right? Like, oh my
Hmm.
god, you own your own company. And me even too, like it's you used to think like, oh my god, they own their own company. And it's like I would rather some days, just being completely honest, have a job that I go to from 9 to 5 and be able to come home and sit on my couch because as a business owner, there is no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
There's
That's,
from whenever to whenever.
yeah. Very
And,
true.
and, and my husband jokes with me all the time because I will sit here in my office like for hours at a time, right? And he's like, just come to bed because it's like your work never gets done because you
Mhm.
always got something to do. So creating that like work life balance, how has that been different from I know you had the travel agency before, so you still kind of
Yeah.
had the go to work and then work your travel agency thing, but now being full time, I only eat what I can kill per se.
Yeah.
What has that been like the past couple months for you?
Oh, uh, yeah, it's been an experience. I am still adapting. Like you said, like in your head when you're working the 9 to 5 and you're just frustrated because with air traffic, it was just like so stressful. We were working 10-hour days, 6-day work weeks. And then on top of that, trying to do my business stuff too. Like I was just like so burnt out and it just wasn't it. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, I need a break from this. Like for my sanity and like health in my body and stuff like that. So I'm thinking that, yeah, once I switch over to 9 to 5, it's gonna be so relaxed and this and that. I do have my own freedom now to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But as you mentioned, uh, if you don't kill anything, you're not going to eat. Like, so you have to produce, like sell. So it's just, it opens your eyes up. How can I put it? To the game of chess versus, like I said, when you're working and yeah, you're 9 to 5, you just play checkers. So if things don't work out, you know, you're still going to receive that check in 2 weeks versus full-time entrepreneurship. Like constantly you're thrown like these unexpected things from left to right and you just can't quit or give up. So it's a game of chess. Like this just happened to me. So what's my next move? Instead of I'm just going to quit and go back to my 9 to 5. So anyone considering leaving their 9 to 5, I would just say, is it worth it? Yes. From a freedom point, yeah, absolutely. But just don't go into it with the mindset that it's just going to be so chill and relaxed and glamorous. And I mean, it is glamorous to an extent. But I would say it'll be even more glamorous once because like I said, we're only 3 years in. Once I have a team and I can really take myself out of the equation, and I guess the word is system. Once I have the system perfected, and the company can run without me being there on a day-to-day basis, then I think life would be really enjoyable and I can just do what I want and the company is continuing to grow on its own.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. So one of our movies that me and my husband love is a movie called Die Hard. Everybody knows Die Hard. And it's a line that's totally like insignificant to the movie, but we talk about it all the time. There's a part where the guy who's robbing the building was like, by the time the police figure out what they've been hit with, we'll be sitting on a beach earning 30% because they're stealing
Yeah.
all this money, right? And so me and my husband's thing has always been, how do we get to the beach earning 30%? Like we want to be sitting on the beach while we're earning the 30%, you know? And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I think as business owners, we get in, and like you said, you starting out, we got to be everybody, right? Because we're a
Hmm.
company of one that has to do all the things that a company needs. But
Yeah.
building those systems and those processes and being able to, just have your company run. Because I feel like as people see us traveling all over the world. Like it's funny. I love calling my travel industry friends because I literally can call them and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm in Africa today. Hey, I'm in Europe today. I'm in Asia." Like I think that's the great part, and it's kind of like it's one of those things where it's not even like, oh, wow, it is a wow, but it's like, of course you are, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's great for us to do that. But what people don't see behind the scenes sometimes is, yeah, we may be sitting in Asia or Africa or wherever it is that we are, but we're sitting there with our laptop. We're sitting there with a notebook. We're
Yes.
taking a phone call.
Very true. Like
So
me and
like
the
all of
laptop.
that happens, and that's one of the biggest things I think that people get caught up in, like, oh, I want to travel, I want to do all of that, and the whole like free travel thing with travel agents, and I'm like, no, we earned every single mile, every single hotel stay
Yeah.
to get there. So it may not have cost us monetarily, but you're only really traveling like that when you got the sales and just the things to be able to get to those types of places. Because otherwise, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
talking about like systems and processes, are there any like CRM tools or um AI tools even that you're like using in your business that you feel have just been like a game changer? Like, I don't know if I could live without this.
Um, well, I love We Travel.
Mhm.
That's what we use predominantly. So I actually use a mix of We Travel and a lot of people go high level for like CRM. So I use a combination of those. But yeah, I would say We Travel, I don't really consider We Travel as a CRM, even though they continue to unveil like new features to make it more like a CRM to interact with automated emails and things of that nature. Um, but still, I would say We Travel in Canva. I think every business owner loves Canva. So yeah, the combination of those three, between Go High Level, which I use for the email automations and things of that nature, and that is a CRM. We Travel, which is for all the itineraries and things of that nature, and then designing everything to make it look nice. like branding, Canva. So those are my go-tos.
Yeah. And then the other thing you talked about was eventually hiring and getting people in place.
Mhm.
And I see it already coming on your face because one, I know how picky you are, and I don't even want to say picky. I want to say like particular, and you want stuff to be done right. And I think that's one of our biggest things as entrepreneurs. Like my daughter fusses at me all the time, right? Because I'll tell her, "Hey, Jazz, I need you to go pick up this box for me," as I'm picking up the box, right? And she's like, "Are
Yeah.
you gonna let me do it?" Or you go, like, what do
Yeah.
just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. But it's like, this is our baby. Like, we put blood, sweat, and tears into, building these businesses, and to be able to hand pieces over to
Yeah.
people. I feel like for me, it's been like, okay, I have to just let go, and I have to realize that they're not Veranda, so they're not going to do it exactly like Veranda's going to do it, but
Mhm.
they're still going to do it. So you just have to trust the process and coach it. And I see all the hip. I'm feeling like everything that you give right now.
I'm
But
learning.
how are you dealing with that process to say, hey, I want to hand pieces of this over? I feel like you want to shake your
Mm,
head no, like I'm not.
yeah, I'm still learning. Because
Yeah,
like you said, it's hard to allow, but you have to for your own sanity and freedom. But yeah, everything that you just said is completely 1000% valid for me. It's like I have a VA and I ask her to do things. She does it, and then I find myself going right behind her just to polish it up. So at least baby steps. I didn't do the entire thing. She did the majority of it. And then I'll polish it a little bit and like take a look at what I just did. Like this is what I like. Like I
sure.
don't like blockish stuff. Like it needs to look like if we're doing like a magazine, it looks needs to look like a real magazine.
Yeah,
And then down to task, yeah. Like if I need something done, like even though yeah, it's a schedule, I need it done by this date. A part of me is like, but I want it done right now. So maybe I gave it to her out of order. So it's like, I want to go do it right now by myself because I want it done right now. And again, that's you staying in that solopreneur bubble, trying
for
to
sure.
do everything. So yeah, I've implemented it to a certain extent, but I still struggle with trying to be Superman and trying to do all the things. And one thing that I did learn too, I guess SOPs and
That's what I was getting
writing
to.
SOPs, writing things out, loom, and I would say I don't want to use like the word dummy, but someone with no experience. Like
Sure.
write it out as if this person has no experience whatsoever and they're doing the thing for you. And if you're very picky or particular, make sure you include those things as well. But yeah, I guess still SOPs, still learning. But yeah, I it's a back and forth. It's a tug of war
You know
internally.
what? I think that whole SOP process and hiring people, like, so in a previous life, I don't know if I ever told you this. My degree is in human resources management. So I used to be HR manager, generalist, training and development, like all of that stuff is what I did in the past. And
Mhm.
so I feel like, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we feel like we gotta have all the answers right now. But going back to my HR days, that's why I had a job when I was in HR, because even those big companies don't have all the answers. They hire HR people to help them come up with, most big companies have a training and development specialist in HR that's putting all that stuff together for them. And it's constantly evolving as things happen. So sometimes I think as business owners in general, we don't give ourselves the grace of the learning curve with stuff. Is
Mhm.
kind of like, no, I gotta get it. I gotta get it. And I think that just comes, and I'm saying this, and I'm not saying it to you. I'm saying it to myself too, as I say, and as
Yeah.
they say, preaching to the choir. I'm talking to myself when I'm preaching to this choir. But it's like all that stuff that we need to do, we feel like we got to get it in place. But I think that's a big thing, just the SOPs and putting everything like your processes, because we know it in our heads. Like I can tell somebody, especially I started out only booking Mexico and Caribbean. So if somebody calls me and tells me they want to go to Cancun, like I can take that call while I'm driving down the highway doing 80 because I can spit it off. But I have
Yeah.
to realize my assistant is like, okay, so which resorts did you need me to send them? And I'm like, why don't you know that? But it's
Yeah.
one of those things. So definitely like writing out those procedures and just like writing out the steps, because I'm gonna tell a secret that I hope clients don't go crazy on us with. But sometimes, even with their trips, like, and I get it because their vacation is very important. So I definitely take that seriously. But sometimes you have clients that call you, their vacation isn't like until like 8 months away, but they're calling you like it's urgent today. And it's one of those things where I have to realize like it's very important to them, and I totally, totally don't take that for granted. But with my assistant, it's like I gotta let her know, like, hey, I may be able to tell them to wait 8 months, but they want to answer from you because it's a little bit different. So just putting even stuff like that in my processes and procedures with people, like,
Yeah.
hey, I know it's 8 months, but we have to have timelines to do all of this stuff. So it's just all those processes, and it's crazy. I keep my phone like by my bed because I wake up in the middle of the night and like send myself an email to remember to do something and then turn back over and go to sleep. And I don't know how, and my husband's just like, go to sleep, like stay asleep all night. I need you to just stay asleep. But I'm like, if you knew the, thoughts in my head, it's just like crazy. I don't know how we do it all. So one of the other things that I'm really big with, and obviously with having ABTP, is just like building a community of agents that you go to and just ask questions. And I know with like Melanated Safaris, it was kind of like you were out there on this field by yourself in that instance. Like the travel agency thing, there's plenty of us I know that you call and you talk to. How did you handle like, okay, I'm starting this tour company. I don't know. And I don't know that you didn't know anybody that did this tour company. I'm assuming that, but I could be wrong. But like, were you just like out there by yourself? Like, hey, let me figure this out. Did you have like mentors or like a business coach or something like that that helped you figure that part out?
No, I just stayed in my lane, like you mentioned. My business partner, um, that's his zone of genius. Like my zone of genius is the admin side. I know the travel agency portion, and we both together just put our zone of geniuses together. I have learned a lot on the job, so it's like on the job training, being in the tour operator. Um, on the tour operator side. But I feel as well as travel advisors, we kind of learn a little bit whether we realize it or not doing the travel agency portion, and you see a lot of those suppliers and what they do on a day-to-day basis. So it's kind of just like you're just switching roles, if you will. But yeah, for me, I just let my business partner does what he do. So like he is that's his experience of our industry since he was a little kid, like his from his uncle. Like that's he's been around that the entire time.
Okay.
So yeah, we both together, like he knows that part. I've learned so much from him about the industry, still learning on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, we both just put our zones of geniuses together, and yeah, that's how we operate.
It's crazy, just the partner thing. I have a partner in ABTP, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny because people just assume, and you would think, as well as I've seen you and your partner interact with each other, and of course you've seen me and Shantae, and people think that, oh, they must have been friends first. Or they must have, done something together first. And it's crazy. And, I'm thankful for the opportunity to have a partner that you can just click with like that and just
Yeah.
get along with, because that is so rare. You see so many companies that split and go out of business and all this other stuff because the partners couldn't get right.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing to be in a situation where you have a business partner, like you said, each stay in your zone of genius. I like that term. Because I feel like that even with me and Shantae has not been in the travel industry as long as I have, but I tell people I still learn so much from her about, people would think I'm way older because I talk about technology like I'm so antiquated that my daughter would be like, Mom, you're not that old. I need you to stop. But Shantae was like, look, we need to be doing this and we got these. And I was like, hey, you got it. Like, so let me stay over here and you do that. So I think that's just great to be able to allow yourself to work with a partner and have that trust in them. Like, I think that's what a lot of people don't get. And just, I would say, from having business partners, one, I owned another business, a paint and sip studio with my cousin. So obviously we've been together our whole life. And so it was great too. Like, even with her, we literally could have a disagreement. Like 5 minutes later, it's like, okay, come on, what are we going to get to eat? So it's one of those things, and that just having that dynamic is so important in business. So is there anything that you would tell people, like, hey, look for this in a partner, or make sure your partner's not doing this, from having created this partnership?
Um, I would just say kind of same things that you just said. Make sure you guys are compatible. Because I don't think a lot of people realize partnership is like a relationship.
Yep. Yep.
Like literally, there's not a single day that goes by that I don't talk to my business partner, even though we're 8 hours separated from each other. It's like it's a 24/7, 365 type thing. Like even like last night, I think I was up at like to midnight and we're still talking at midnight. So it's just it's a nonstop. And as you mentioned as well, you're not always going to see eye to eye or to get along about certain things. You get mad at each other. Um, but when those things happen, you have to think about your purpose, like what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
And for us, at the end of the day, it's Melanated Safaris, and it's continuing to grow our company. But yeah, like over these 2.5 years, it's like he's more like I tell him all the time. I was like, "You're like my third brother." Like he's really like my third brother because yeah, like the same stuff I experienced with my biological brothers, I experienced with him. It's yeah, he's a brother. So like
That's great. That's great.
I know, yeah, I know his mom. He knows my mom. Our moms know each other. So every time I'm there, his mom asks about me. My mom asks about him. So it's really like we're just a big happy family. And just to, like you said, go back and think that this was a complete stranger that reached out to me on Instagram, and this is where we are today. So yeah, so that's what I would say about partnership. Just make sure you guys are compatible. You see eye to eye. You're gonna get mad. You're gonna be up days, down days, but just make sure you guys share the same mission or drive or purpose to continue to pushing forward and to allow you to get past those difficult moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just too, having, when you get to know that person, just make sure too that they have kind of like the same values that you
Hmm.
have in life too, because I think that's just like super important too, because you want to make sure that the things that you think internally are important for someone to be a good person, that they actually embrace that too, and that's the
Yeah,
type of person that they want to be, because
yeah,
then you get yourself in a whole lot of other trouble, because it's like, I don't even like you. Like, I wouldn't talk to you if we didn't own this business. So
yeah,
I don't want to talk to you now.
yeah.
And I think just avoiding that. So luckily, I have not had that situation for either one of those. So that's a great thing. But I don't want to hold you up. I just, because you and I will talk forever. I think our last conversation was like an hour and a half. So, uh, but tell everybody where they can find out about you at Melanated Safaris.
So yeah, we are available. We are on Instagram at Melanated Safaris. Our website is www.melanatedsafaris.com. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're growing our YouTube channel. So we're on pretty much every social media platform with an exception of X or Twitter. So yeah, that's what we are. And thank you, Veranda, for the opportunity. And for those out there listening, visit the beautiful country of Tanzania. We'd love to welcome you to Tanzania. Our company is, I don't know, is one of a kind. Our mission is to pretty much end the negative stigma or break the negative stigma when it comes to Africa. We dub ourselves as the next generation of African safaris. We don't do cookie cutter experiences. Culture is very important to us. So if you want something new, different, to support the youngest safari company owners in Africa, Black-owned company, look up and give Melanated Safaris email info@melanatedsafaris.com. And yeah, we can't wait to welcome each and every one of you to the beautiful country of Tanzania.
What's up? I think I told you this before, but actually one of my best friends out on Instagram saw one of your videos, and she sent it to me and was like, we need to do this. And obviously she had no idea that we knew each other. And I looked at the video and I was like, yeah, that's Antoine's company. When we go, that's exactly who we're going with. So she was like, of course you would know him. And I was like, oh yeah. But thank you so much for joining us today, Antoine. I really appreciate your time. And I cannot wait to get to Tanzania. I just learned that's from you. That's the correct way to say it, not Tanzania. So, okay, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.